It started the night I agreed to house sit for my cousin while she went on a weekend trip. The house was an old Victorian mansion, set back from the road, surrounded by thick woods and overgrown gardens. Even during the day, the place gave me chills. But I needed the money, so I shrugged off my unease and settled in. The first few hours were uneventful. I unpacked, made a cup of tea, and watched TV. Then, around midnight, I heard it, a faint tapping, like nails against glass, coming from the front windows. I froze. The wind was still, the house was isolated, and the sound was deliberate. I grabbed a flashlight and crept to the front windows. Nothing. The bushes outside swayed, but no one was there. I chalked it up to an animal, maybe a raccoon or a stray cat, but the uneasy feeling in my gut didn't go away. By 1 a.m., the strange noises escalated. A slow creak, as if someone was walking across the old wooden floors above me. The house had multiple stories, and my cousin had warned me that the attic was off limits. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just the house settling. But the noises became patterned, almost rhythmic, like deliberate footsteps pacing in a loop. Curiosity, or stupidity, got the better of me. I grabbed a flashlight and headed upstairs, the beam cutting through the darkness. The hallway was empty. Every room I checked was as it should be, except for the attic door at the end of the hall. A faint light seemed to seep from beneath it. I paused. My heart pounded in my chest. Something told me to turn around and leave, but the fear mixed with intrigue made me reach for the handle. The door was cold. I yanked it open, revealing the attic bathed in shadow. Boxes and furniture were stacked haphazardly, coated in dust. Nothing moved. I stepped inside, and then I saw it. A small wooden rocking chair moving slowly back and forth, though the room was empty. No wind, no one there. Just the chair, swaying rhythmically, my breath caught in my throat. I felt a presence behind me, something heavy, watching. I spun around. Nothing, just the shadows. I shined my flashlight across the room, illuminating every corner. That's when I noticed the walls. Strange, almost organic markings, etched into the wood, forming shapes that made my skin crawl. Faces? Hands? I couldn't tell. Suddenly, the rocking chair stopped. Silence. Then a soft whisper. "Why are you here?" I dropped the flashlight. It clattered across the floor, plunging the attic into darkness. My ears rang with the whisper, and the feeling of eyes piercing me from every corner of the room was unbearable. I ran, crashing down the stairs, nearly tripping, my heart hammering, adrenaline flooding every vein. I locked myself in the guest bedroom, trying to calm down. But the noises didn't stop. The tapping at the windows, the soft whispers, the faint scraping above me in the attic. I lay in bed, shaking, staring at the ceiling, wondering what had been awakened in that house. And I knew one thing. I was not alone. I didn't sleep that night. Every creak, every gust of wind against the old house made me flinch. I kept thinking about the rocking chair, the whispers, the markings in the attic. Morning light brought little comfort. The house still felt wrong. Around noon, I decided to explore the rest of the mansion in daylight, thinking maybe light would make it feel safer. That was a mistake. The dining room, which had seemed quaint in pictures, was now oppressive. The wallpaper, once floral and bright, appeared darkened, almost blood-stained in some places. Dust motes hung in the sunlight, but they swirled strangely, like tiny figures moving against the current. As I walked through the hallway, I noticed a door I hadn't seen before. It was small, half hidden behind a tattered curtain. I opened it, revealing a narrow staircase descending into darkness. I hadn't been told about a basement. Against my better judgment, I went down. The air was colder, heavier, almost damp. Faintly, I could hear something dripping, though I couldn't see it. At the bottom, the basement opened into a small room with stone walls, and in the middle, a single mirror, tall and narrow, leaned against the wall. At first, it seemed ordinary. Then, I noticed the reflection. I wasn't alone. Behind me, in the mirror, a figure stood, tall, thin, shrouded in darkness. I spun around. Nothing. My heart raced, every nerve on fire. I looked back at the mirror. The figure was closer now, its head tilted, its eyes glowing faintly red. I stumbled back, tripping over a loose stone. When I looked again, the figure was gone. But the whisper returned, louder this time, echoing from the mirror itself. "You shouldn't be here." I ran up the stairs, slammed the door, and bolted it. My hands shook, sweat dripping down my face. I told myself it was a trick of the light, my imagination. But deep down, I knew it wasn't. That night, the terror intensified. The rocking chair in the attic started again, even though I was in the guest bedroom on the opposite end of the house. The whispers became voices, faint at first, then louder, overlapping. I hid under the covers, covering my ears, willing it to stop. But it didn't. At around 2:30 a.m., I heard footsteps descending the attic stairs. Slow, deliberate, each creak echoing like a drumbeat. My blood ran cold. I grabbed my phone to call my cousin, but there was no signal. The footsteps stopped outside my door. I could hear breathing. Heavy, slow, deliberate. I stayed perfectly still. Then, a shadow fell across the doorway. It was Mel, the woman from the first story, I swear, but distorted, taller, almost inhuman. Her face was obscured, but I felt her gaze burn into me. "Why are you here?" She whispered again, but the voice was distorted, layered with hundreds of faint echoes. I wanted to run, to scream, to fight, but I was frozen. The shadow didn't move. It lingered for what felt like an eternity. And then, just as suddenly, it vanished. Morning came, but I wasn't safe. Every door, every window, every mirror in the house felt like it could harbor her, or something far worse. I didn't dare sleep that day, pacing the halls, listening for the soft creak of footsteps. By the evening, I realized I had to leave. But the car keys were missing. The doors wouldn't unlock. And the whisper followed me through the halls, now taunting, mocking, growing louder. "You can't leave." That night, trapped in the mansion, I understood the truth. I wasn't just house-sitting. I had trespassed into something ancient, something alive within the walls, and it didn't want me to leave. I don't know how long I wandered the halls that night. Time seemed to stretch and warp in that house. Every shadow became a threat, every whisper a command. I tried every door, every window. Nothing worked. The house had me trapped. Around midnight, I heard a soft laughter, childlike yet hollow, echoing from the attic. My heart sank. The same rhythmic tapping returned, now mixed with dragging sounds across the wooden floors. I had no choice. I had to face whatever was in that house. I grabbed a heavy candlestick and slowly ascended the stairs to the attic, my flashlight trembling in my grip. The attic door was slightly ajar. I pushed it open and froze. The rocking chair was there, moving violently now, though the room was empty. Behind it, shadows shifted and thickened, forming shapes that shouldn't exist. Faces appeared, twisted and pale, pressed against the walls as if trapped inside the wood. And then I saw her. Mel, her eyes glowing a deep red, her mouth twisted in a grin too wide for any human. She floated just above the floor, moving toward me effortlessly, defying gravity. Her voice, layered with hundreds of whispers, filled the room. "You shouldn't have come here. Now you belong to the house." I swung the candlestick at her, but it passed through her like mist. The shadows reacted violently, slamming into me, pushing me back. Pain shot through my body as if the house itself was striking me. I scrambled for the attic stairs, but the room seemed to stretch endlessly. Each step I took felt like moving through thick water. Behind me, whispers became screams, the air thick with malice. Then, a sudden calm. The rocking chair stopped. The shadows froze. The laughter halted. I turned slowly. A single beam of moonlight had pierced the window, illuminating a trapdoor in the far corner I hadn't noticed before. Desperate, I ran toward it, slamming it open. A ladder led down into darkness. I didn't care what waited below. I descended, the smell of damp earth filling my nose, the sounds of the mansion above fading. I hit solid ground in a small, forgotten cellar. Dust and cobwebs covered the floor. For the first time in hours, silence. I crawled toward a small back door, hidden behind stacked crates. My hands were bleeding from cuts and scrapes, but I forced it open. The cold night air hit me like a wave of relief. I sprinted across the overgrown garden, the mansion looming behind me like a sentinel. Every instinct screamed that I should look back, but I didn't. I reached my car, jumped in, and drove away, ignoring the gravel crunching under my tires. Days later, I returned only once, with authorities, but the house seemed empty. No evidence of the supernatural, no hidden trapdoors, nothing. Only the overgrown garden, silent and unassuming. I never returned. Even now, when I think back, I feel her gaze. I know that whatever was in that house didn't end that night. The shadows, the whispers, the rocking chair, they are still there, waiting for the next person foolish enough to enter. Weeks passed, but the memories of that mansion haunted me. Every time I closed my eyes, I could hear the whispers, see the shadows, feel the gaze of Mel. I tried to convince myself it was trauma, exhaustion, imagination. But deep down, I knew better. One rainy evening, I received a strange message on my phone. No number, no name, just a single line. "You can't leave, the house remembers." I froze. My blood ran cold, my hands shook. For a moment, I thought it was a prank, but something primal told me it was not. The air in my apartment felt heavier, colder. Shadows seemed longer, deeper. That night, I couldn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., my phone rang. No caller ID. I answered, voice trembling. "You should have stayed away." The line went dead. Then, a faint creak, like old wood bending, echoed from my bedroom. I lived on the 10th floor of my building. No wood, no attic. Nothing that could make that sound. I turned on every light, but the shadows seemed to writhe anyway, twisting unnaturally. Then, I saw her. Mel, reflected in my bedroom mirror, standing behind me. Her grin was impossibly wide, her eyes glowing red in the dim light. I spun around, nothing. But the reflection remained. I tried to smash the mirror with a chair, but it didn't break. The reflection stayed. And then I realized it wasn't just a reflection. It was her in my world now. Panicked, I grabbed my keys, my phone, anything. I ran outside into the rain, screaming. But the streets seemed wrong, distorted, empty, silent. And in every puddle, every reflective surface, I saw her watching, smiling, waiting. Days later, friends reported I had vanished. No trace, no apartment, no car. Just echoes of someone fleeing into the night, leaving behind an empty room with a shattered mirror whispering. The house always gets what it wants. Even now, when I close my eyes, I swear I hear the creak of the rocking chair, the soft giggle from the attic, and the faint, horrifying whisper, "Next time, it could be you."